Hello and welcome to Hexagon Mining's webinar on the future of mine safety. Now, this is part of a series of free webinars being offered by Hexagon this year. For today's session, we are tackling the question, what's next for mine safety? Now, leading today's webinar is Marcus Baiuelo, Portfolio Manager for Safety of Hexagon Mining. I will now hand you over to Marcus to begin today's session.
Thank you, Benito, for inviting me for this session. It's a pleasure to be here. Today, we're gonna go through a presentation to really see how we can leverage technology into transforming not only the preventive measures that we use for controlling and monitoring the safety in our mine related to our traffic and trackless movement machinery, but as well, how can we generate actually performance indicators from our next generation of safety solutions? So really, how can we use this data to drive our safe culture, our zero harm goal? So basically, this is opening with, why do I need actually collision awareness or operator alertness technologies, right? Like most common of us have never experienced fatality, but this is a common question. We haven't had a trackless movement machinery related fatality in the past 4 years, or in the past 2 years, or in the past 3 years, or all we have is minor incidents or metal to metal contacts. So why do I need to invest in my technology rather than enforcing or tightening my controls? So the answer to this, it's rather a little bit on, do you know really what is the risk exposition on your mine? Do you know how many daily close interactions or near misses are in your mine? Like, do you know the reality, or is everything on a gut feeling? So basically, out of a mine with 250 heavy vehicles, measuring with technology, we know that there is at least 1.2 near misses between mine equipment and live vehicle per day, plus certain number of micro slips. Like, it's basically operators really falling asleep behind the wheel. So what does this represent for us? What does this represent for your mine site? This represents that basically this is a race against statistics. Basically, there is the possibility of 51% of a major accident within a year. That is always occurring in your mine, also depending on this way that your traffic management controls are set and how your design is set up, of course, and this will vary, but this is on a high level what we would see, which put us as well on an 86% of lost work time within a month. So how really technology can help us to not only get this data, but reduce these numbers, right? Reducing the percentage of possibility of an accident to occur. How can we really help us to minimize the risk? So basically, this has a correlation on how we can really reduce our serious accidents and fatalities by basically reducing or eliminating our near misses. So here is where the technology can really help us into driving our final goal of zero harm. But technology doesn't only help us into this direction. It's like, do you really know how effective are your traffic and fatigue management control? Can you precisely tell how effective your controls are? Are they 40% effective? Are they 90% effective? Are they achieving their goal of maintaining the separation distance between your whole heavy machinery and live vehicles? How many of your vehicles are following the control of following distance? Do you know exactly? Do you know precisely? No. Probably the answer is probably it's all measured timely based, and we don't really know. Or you have really strict, tight controls that really allows you to control very well your mine. But What is the percentage of near misses reported on the overall industry? Yes, less than 30%. Multiple reasons, but the average is on less than 30% of the near misses are reported. So what is the reason that we really don't get much of this reported? And this is basically because the knowledge over time that we have of our controls. So if you see on this graph, what we're trying to represent is where can we get the knowledge of our controls? And this can come through our audits. Basically, if we have an audit, we will have, which is represented in this graph as the blue arrows or the blue stack areas. We will get a really high percentage of knowledge, but this peak only lasts while the audit is done, which means that we don't have this level of knowledge over 100% of our time. And then we have our experts, which is our safety department, which is the consultants we bring into our mine sites to really help us to understand what is happening, which give us 40, 50, 60%, and that we can maintain this level of knowledge. But that doesn't represent the whole knowledge we can get. Then we have our site supervision. That is the really our workforce, our eyes on the site, our eyes on the pit. These can provide us up to 50% of the real information. But we have the technology. The technologies can operate 100% of the time and can be installed and can be monitoring 100% of our vehicles or the scenarios we want to do. So technology can offer us close to 100% of the information we need to know if our controls are effective or not. But at the end, what are we trying to achieve? Can we anticipate really this to occur? So can we really use the data to monitor our controls to prevent this to occur? This is the question we really are trying to answer. And for that, we have to see what are the challenges that we are facing. What are the challenges that our operators are facing? Basically, they have multiple focus points. They have their fleet management system that is assigning them a route to follow, a place, a location to go. They have their radio to communicate with the supervisors and their colleagues, right? They have all the information that comes from the machine. So they have multiple focus points besides their main task that is move, transport material. We have long shift and monotonous operations. So whole truck driving up a ramp, 15 kilometers per hour, 13, 10 for a long time, plus the commuting time from our operators, from our workforce to arrive to the mine site. We have a high level of traffic density, but we have a dense operation that we have to manage. And this machinery, it's really designed with a large number of blind spots, up to 50, 60% on the surrounding of the machinery. So we are exposing our operators to this. Then we have a large number of multiple speed areas. Some of our operators, the behavior is not the best, so we can as well have the usage of the cell phone. And yes, we have pressure for productivity. That is how our operators, our drivers, we or the industry get measured. We have to produce. We have a product to create. We have a product to export. So this intrinsically becomes a challenge as well. So it becomes a hurdle for the user adoptions of technologies because it somehow contradicts. So I have to move faster to produce more, but as well I have to be careful to be safe. So it is a little bit of a head contradiction, right? But if we look at the challenges, not only from the perspective of our drivers, but the perspective from the administration, the perspective from us as management on the mine side, what challenges do we face? We have no leading indicators on safety, so we're just basically understanding a high level indicators from our controls, our task visualization. And then if an accident occurs, we have to go and investigate with the data we can collect, but we cannot exactly know what is happening. Or can we have a leading indicator that can tell us really how exposed are we to the risk? Are we really getting too close to an accident occur, so we need to take an action? Step back and think. Can we really get this tap in the shoulder by technology to tell us, hey, look for what is going to happen? And then we go out into the market space and we see a lot of solutions out there that can provide unreliable data and that are not connected to each other, so we cannot correlate them. That, yes, we see a solution that we perceive as a good, but is it reliable enough to work in the environment that my mine site is, to provide me the reliability that my maintenance team and my vehicle equipment expect to? We work 24 hours, 7 days a week, the whole year. We need our equipment working. If we're going to put a technology in our equipment, it needs to work the same way we expect our vehicles to work. Then we have a large number of silos of information, but not only information, processes. So how can we relate our safety processes, our safety information with our operational information? At the end of the day, it's not how much more I produce, how much more unsafe I produce. So this information needs to come together. But it's not only about information, we need to tie up these processes as well. And at the end, yes, we have technology and we have 20, 50, 100, 120 vendors with really complex solutions, which at the end of the day, all of this makes it sometimes complex and with poor performance. So how can we really adapt the technology to our mine process, to our mine site process, to what we expect, to how our mine operates, so we can really solve these issues, these challenges. So for us, it is important that our solutions really can address these challenges. How can we help the mine sites to really drive this together? And this short video explains a little bit on how are we trying to get this done. So if we see this video just translates how can we really protect our best asset, our people, the ones that drive our mine sites. So if we look at this and we put all of this together, we have to understand what is the technology, how does this interact with the workforce, and how can we really drive our business outcomes. So we are trying to achieve our zero harm culture. So how are the solutions or technology attacking all the pillars of the operator behavior? Basically, how can we drive our culture to get to the zero harm through the technology? So this comes with 4 pillars. Education. It's like how can we improve our work hour rosters based on technology? How can we really help the personal life and habits from our workforce? And how can we really embrace the journey of transforming our workforce into a zero harm culture? How can we really drive the change management within our workforce to adopt the technology that's going to change their behaviors, that is going to drive our culture? And in here is where we offer solutions on change management, and we partner with the best. So out of this, how can we really use predictive technology to understand what is happening to our workforce before they get to work? As soon as they get to work, how can we prevent things to happen? Here is where wearables plays a role in understanding what is the sleep pattern, how the shift schedules make an impact on our workforce safety. And then we have the real-time piece of the technology. How can we really assist our operators to help them prevent an accident by providing them guidance, notifications, visual awareness in real time while they're performing their task? How can we really take an action over the machinery before an accident happens to prevent it to happen? How can we measure the safety real time on board to avoid accidents? And then comes the final piece that fits the whole pillars. How can we really use the analytics of all our predictive and real-time data to re-educate our operators, to improve our processes, and to measure the business outcome performance? Basically, how can we fit each one of our pieces? How can we measure that our technology is working towards improving or knowing precisely our controls? How can we use this data as leading indicators, as tap on the shoulder to tell us, hey, take an action now, you're too close to an accident to happen? And how can we use this data to re-educate and enforce the culture? How can we create these artifacts that are gonna manage and change and drive the culture in our organization? So if we look through the technology, we can really look in 5 steps how we can use the technology for risk mitigation and business outcome. So if we look through these, we have an operational control that comes out of our traffic management or our fatigue management. And then we have an erosion factor. Erosion factor might dictate the failure of our operational control. And here is where the technology plays a role. We have a preventive function in our technology on our real-time pillar that can really provide the aim or the help to the operators to overcome this erosion factor. But not only for that, this real-time data, this preventing function, will feed back our administration to really monitoring and enforcing our operational control. So now we can measure how many times our operational control is being erosion. But not only that, while we drive and enforce our functions and we see the change on the culture of our organization, we see the improvement of the prevention functions, we can measure our business value, which is basically at the end, how many accidents less have we had? How many less near misses have we had? So which will allow us to really drive our safety culture. So let's put some examples, some concrete examples, how we can do this. So basically, if we go directly into our step 4, how can we monitor and enforce our functions? Let's think of a race of 10K as our year within safety. So basically we say in 1 year, I ran 10K in 1 hour, which represent 2-3 accidents that I have. Next year, I want to have 0 accidents, or I want to have 1 accident, or I want to reduce 70% of this. So how do I measure this? How can I have leading indicators to understand that I'm gonna get to my goal? And not only putting a preventing function on my vehicle to tell my operators to follow and help them, but how can I measure my business outcome? So having safety analytics, data that can help us to drive this, will help us to improve our time in our 10K. So if we look at this analogy with modern racing watches, now we have distance travel, heart rate, time and pace, and we have real time feeding us how much distance have we traveled, what is our current pace, right? And what is our heart rate, which is telling us, are we gonna finish the race faster? And are we healthy enough to finish the race faster? So how can we use the same analogy, the same information within safety to drive to our goal? Basically having live performance information, meaning critical events, can tell us what is our pace, can tell us what is our heart rate zone. And having historical data of this pace will allow us to really predict our final race time. Or will really tell us, yes, you achieved your business outcome, or you are deviating from your business outcome. There is actions to be taken. These are our leading indicators to take actions to drive our business outcome. To, at the end of the day, reduce our final time of the race and understanding where I am in each stage of the race to make sure that I'm gonna be able to reduce my final time. But then how do we use the data now from safety to really get to this point? So basically, we can really get immediate feedback of events to really take actions immediate, to drive our culture. This becomes our artifact. How can we really understand what is happening in our mind now? If we have a critical event, if we had a near miss, to how can we review this daily and weekly to understand from our workforce who are our operators driving under the risk? Do I need to ship a change? Or do I have certain intersections that are creating a risk? To analyze trends and KPIs to really understand we are driving towards our business outcome, to our goal. We are aiming to reduce 70% of our critical risk within 1 year. We measure every 3 months. Are we going in the right path, or are we deviating? Do we have to improve our weekly and daily reviews, or do we have to enforce or drive to our culture with immediate feedback? But as well, utilize this as a positive behavior reinforcement. If we are getting to our goal, if we know who are our safe operators, as we reward our operators with higher performance on operations, we can reward our operators with higher performance on safety, which as well help us to drive our safety culture. So we can have real-time operational feedback. It's going to help us driving our operations. We can do our business improvement and re-education, and we can do the review of our business outcomes. This is how our safety data can help us to drive our piece. But how can we see the outcome of this? So here is an example of the implementation of the whole value chain. Higher than 60% of the reduction of the critical events by providing immediate feedback, by reviewing and improving our processes, by performing positive reinforcement. But now we have reduced our critical events. How does this affect our business outcome, that is our incidents, accidents? 53% reduction over 3 years on accidents or collision involving heavy machinery and light vehicles by implementing technology. So this is the final outcome of how we can really embrace the journey of our workforce, how we can help them to prevent, how we can use the data to monitor, and how can we measure our business outcome. At the end of the day, we are all trying to get our people, our workforce back home safe. And here is where technology plays a role and can help our mining sites. Thanks very much for joining on the webinar, and hope it was a good presentation.
Thank you for that, Marcos. Now, if you have a couple of minutes, I do have a few questions that I would like to ask regarding what you just mentioned. The first being, from your own knowledge, like, where do you think the mining industry currently stands when it comes to the target of zero harm?
So safety has been a focus on mining for a while, and I think this has been getting tightened up in the past 5 to 7 years. This is a moving target because it's always with new processes, with higher expected outputs from our mine sites. Our safety need a higher control. And now mining industry is starting to understand that we need to embrace technology to really be able to measure where are we. So we are very good on measuring performance on productivity. And now we are starting to understand that we need to do the same on safety to get to this. So we are getting there towards zero harm. There is still a little path to go that needs to be embraced by the mining industry to really get there. And if you see this is compared to aviation. Deaths in aviation 15 years ago, 20, 30 years ago were high. Aviation now has really tight controls using technology, which has dropped the fatalities in aviation 95%. So mining is getting into this journey. We are getting there. We are not there yet.
All right, thank you for that. And last question, how valuable would real-time operational data be for empowering safety culture from people all the way to the processes at a mine site?
So today, mine sites understand operational data towards productivity straightforward. Everybody knows tons move. The understanding of this is clear in the industry, but there is not a clear yet understanding of leading indicators within safety and technology. So this is the first step to really embrace this journey. And the other is, how can we correlate this to data? How can we really, we all talk about our mine site needs to be more productive, more safe. This is all what we are trying to achieve. But we don't know yet how to measure this together. It's still two silos of information. Transforming our processes and the way we not only measure, but the way that we perform the task on our mine site, the process of our mine sites, with the data combined, it's really what can drive us to really make our mines more productive and more safe.
And I'm guessing you definitely agree that the cost of digital transformation at a mine is nothing compared to the actual cost of a near miss turning into an incident, right?
So data shows that investing $1 in safety technology is gonna save you from $3 to $6 in the future for loss of revenue, for a lot of hidden costs that comes from multiple sources that are not taken in account for our current accountability methods. But this correlation is clear. It is understandable that investing in prevention and investing in the digital transformation is going to help you towards improving your productivity, improving your safety, which at the end becomes dollars into your pocket.
All right, as always, thank you for sharing your expertise with us. Now, to our audience, if you have any further questions, please feel free to send them through to us via our website. And we hope you enjoyed this session and have a good one. Thank you.